Welcome to Quick Shots, a short format traditional archery podcast, where we introduce you to some of the world's most influential traditional archers, and occasionally, some random dudes. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Mick Chambers. I'm here with John, Wingman115, content creator and single string archer. Hey John, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mick. Thank you for having me on the show.
Dude, I really appreciate you doing this. I got to be honest with you. I'm a bit of a fan, if you hadn't noticed. And so you've been doing this a long time. You've been a content creator a long, long time. And man, the stuff you're doing is fantastic. I love everything you do.
Thank you. Been on YouTube 15 years this year.
Wow.
So seen a lot of changes. With anything, you got to roll with the changes if you want to stay relevant. It's been a fun ride. And what I liked most about being a content creator is meeting folks like yourself and people in the industry, and just able to have a positive impact on the sport. And it's just been a fun ride so far.
It's great. And it's so great that your content is so diverse, but it's really about the same thing. And what I mean by that is that, you do reviews, you do interviews, you do single string archery stuff. But hey, you can tell when you're using a bow, the passion that you have for it. It's amazing. So I really love that. So I want to talk thanks. I want to talk a little bit about that and what your origin story is. Like, when did you start? When did you pick up a bow, and what got you into single string archery?
Well, I started out, let's go way back to the beginning. I grew up in northern Maine. My parents had a homestead up in a little town called Portage Lake, Maine, population about 500 people. And my grandfather was a logger. My dad was a logger for a time. Then he was a heavy equipment mechanic. And all my family was avid outdoorsmen. My mother deer hunted. She avid fisherman. So I was exposed to the outdoors and outdoor living in a variety of different genres, as far as like hunting with powder burners. I had a trap line. And then my dad in the 60s purchased a Browning Cobra. And I did a video on that bow.
I saw
basically the origins of that bow. And as a teenage boy shooting your dad's recurve, he was kind of getting like a little, I don't want you to touch my bow, son. We all got our favorite rig, and we don't want the kids messing with our rig.
Yeah.
So from my 15th birthday was 1980, my dad bought me a Bear Whitetail Hunter. It was a compound bow. But the compound bows back then were a lot different than the compound bows of today. Back then, we weren't using releases, and a lot of us weren't using bow sights. So I was basically shooting that compound bow like a traditional bow, except I had some let off, which was nice because being 15, that bow went from, I think, 45 pounds up to 60 pounds. And, you're out there slinging arrows all day. I mean, it'd wear you out. But we would go to the horse ranch in town, get some hay bales. Back then, they were $1/4 a piece. They're probably like 20 something bucks now a piece. It's crazy. And my dad and I would shoot in the yard. And my dad, I remember growing up and throwing frisbees in the air, and my dad popping frisbees with his Browning Cobra. So we would hunt. I never harvested a deer with my bow, but many a cottontails and tree squirrels and such like that. And it was just a great time growing up in that environment.
So it reminds you of your childhood, basically, and all the good times. Yeah. Growing up on the east side. You're on the west side now.
Oh, extreme. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, the Navy brought me out here in 1984, and I met my wife. We celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary, so I'm showing my age there.
Congratulations.
Just like a week ago. But after I get out of the Navy, I stayed here in SoCal because with as much as the stigma that California gets, with this and that,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful, diverse state as far as scenery. We have Yosemite, we have Big Sur, we have the Mojave Desert, and there within 2 hours, I can be at the beach or I can be in the local mountains. So that's a lot of different eco transition areas to hunt, to fish, to explore, to hike. I used to mountain bike race and things like that. So I just love the topography out here. Now, as far as like hunting with a trad bow out here is tough because these muleys,
Yeah.
they're so pressured. There's so many people with the powder burners, with the muzzle loaders, with the compound archers. It's tough to get within that 30-yard and under range with a longbow and a recurve. It can be done, but it is extremely hard. But it's fun. Yeah, I've chased deer the past couple of years, and I've had a couple where I've drew on them, but they were outside that comfort range where I felt I could take a good ethical shot on them. And having the experience and maturity now, it's like, okay, let down and just, experience this another day. And it's just fun getting out in the woods with our friends and having a good time.
So what bow are you shooting currently? What's your
Oh my
favorite?
gosh.
Are you one of these guys that grabs like a million different types of bows? Just like I gotta have a different one every day.
If my wife knew exactly how many bows I have, I would probably not be married for 35 years. I have an addiction. But right now, and you interviewed him, Ray Fletcher
Yep.
from
Right.
Riverbend
Fair bow.
Longbows. I purchased a bow from Ray probably about 6-7 months ago. And I told him my draw length. I told him because I have a short draw. I'm a short guy. I'm 5'6". So my draw is about 26 and a half inches.
Okay.
And I wanted a 45-pound bow at that draw length. And he did it to where it was 50 at 28. So it measured perfect 45 at 26 and a half. So I've been shooting that quite a bit. Before that, I had a shrew.
Yeah.
I have the classic, and that's a really nice bow. Ron LeClaire and Henry Bodnick. I mean, those guys. I mean, I've done reviews on all these bows, and they're just outstanding. And as far as like the economy bows for folks to get into just starting out, the Southwest Archery bows are very good. The Stingray, I've reviewed, I think, 3 of them. The Ghost takedown longbow, very good and affordable for folks. There's just a lot of stuff, and you probably deal with it too. It's hard to practice when you're bouncing around with different bows.
Yeah.
I have a Samick Discovery too that I want to shoot that, but you want to give them all love, but there's only so much time in the day.
That's so true. I mean, I think there's so many of us are like that. It's hard to be like a master of, it's hard to get really, really good because you pick up a different bow, it's a different feel, and you love it for that different feel. Right.
Yeah.
But you gotta tune yourself to that bow sometimes and not the,
Yep.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. I love your reviews. I mean, you do this, that I feel like I want to talk about your channel for a little bit.
Sure.
Because and I just want to touch on this because you love single string archery, you love traditional archery, and you know how people can tell the number of views you get on your archery reviews compared to all the other cool stuff that you do, it's low. I mean, it's low. I mean, you do a pellet gun review, it's 50,000 views. You do,
Yeah.
you know, a single string, it's like in the thousands. Which, by the way, anyone listening to this, go watch those. I mean, all those bows that John just mentioned. You know, go see those reviews. You do a great job of breaking it down and in making people feel comfortable, you know, bringing people in. And I always feel comfortable when I hear this Wingman, do your intro, Wingman115. That's so good. It's so good.
Wingman115, check it in.
Check it in. I love it. I love it. It just makes me feel like I gotta watch that. But anyway, but you know, you're doing all these other great things too. And I want people to understand that or listen to this, like go watch those. I dig pellet guns and air guns. And I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong nomenclature, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah, but I you know, and I watch your reviews for that. I watch your reviews for your knife reviews, because you know what? I love archery and I love single string archery, but I kind of dig, you know, having a cool knife too once in a while. And you know,
well, you know, people are hunting and fishing. Sometimes, and I saw this a lot in the mountain bike genre when I used to race. People get so myopic in their own little genre that they become like a silo where they don't think outside the box on stuff. And I think trad archery is more of a social thing to me anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Going out with family, friends. I bought my daughter a rig recently, and I'm trying to give her some instruction on that. And it's just good quality time. And I always advocate that in the videos is grab a youth, teach them they're the future of our sport. If my dad hadn't grabbed me at a young age, I probably wouldn't be shooting a bow today. I took a little time off, you know, life, sometimes you're dad and you work and you got things going on, but you always had that experience and you can always come back to it and draw from those experiences that you have. As far as competing, I don't compete a lot. One, just because I don't have the time with my job. I work a lot of weekends and holidays, but I tend not to go down that route because I do archery more as a relaxation for me. I have a little range on the side of my house. I get off work, I grab the bow, I'll shoot 50 arrows, I decompress for the day where it's like, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just looking at a target. And if I start competing like I used to do, like in mountain bike riding, then I'll get burned out because I get too obsessive on stuff. So I like just going out, having fun. I have friends over. We'll shoot here in the yard and play games. And like Greg Richards from 3D Archery, saw the channel. We dialogue back and forth. He made me a bunch of 3D targets, you know, and we put them out and we play around with them, or we'll take them out in the woods and do it as well. It's just a great time.
So hey, you know, Greg. So did he move? Did he move out that way?
He went to Louisiana.
Oh yeah, he's in Louisiana. That's
yeah, he had a job offering down there, and he took it, and he's been doing pretty good down there. I watched a video today.
Oh, the Louisiana one.
Yeah, he went to Mississippi for this 3D.
Yeah, Mississippi, right? Yeah,
but he's such a great advocate for the sport. And
he's
you know,
really
I made what's that?
He's really good. Yeah, he's really good. I mean, you two guys are kind of those channels that I ping all the time. Like I'm always on and off your channels. You and 3D Archery, so it's pretty good. Yeah.
His buddy. I'm trying to think. I'm having a brain freeze because I've been up for quite a few hours today. With the Knocking Point.
The Knocking Point guy. Yeah.
He's really good too, and he I have to blame him for my addiction for the Bear 76ers and the Minuteman, because he started shooting those, and I remember as a kid, I always wanted one of those Bear 76ers. It was just because I grew up in that genre, you know.
Yeah.
1976, I was 11 years old. So it was like that was the thing. And because we lived so far out in the sticks, nobody carried that stuff. And back in the day, you either had to order stuff through the Sears catalog or like
That's right.
Service Merchandise.
Yeah.
And it was just a bear to get that, right? No pun intended.
It's Bear, but Bear was the brand that they carried. Bear was the brand
Yeah.
they carried. Yeah.
And a lot of times they rebranded it. A bear bow had Sears on it.
Oh, I didn't
So,
know that. I don't remember
oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple models that they had like that.
They
But
they had Ben Pearson's, they had
oh
Bear,
yeah.
they had, yeah, it was a
Well,
great time.
I have a Colt firearms bow that I'm going to do a review on, and that was most of them were made either by Wing Archery or by Ben Pearson. Then they rebadged him with the Colt firearm logo on there.
Right.
But because of that, they were one of the first big sponsors for the Vegas Open in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and that's what I like to do with these older bows is research the history, because there's a lot of great history and stories behind that. When I was doing the video on my dad's Browning Cobra, I found out that they were made here in San Diego. Gordon Plastics, who worked a lot of the aerospace community. That time, San Diego was a huge aerospace community. They invented a lot of the really high-end fiberglass and the adhesives and stuff. So Browning outsourced it to Gordon Plastics to build. So that was kind of cool. And it's like, okay, I think I'm living in here where Dad's bow is made. That was awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, you come back. Yeah, that's kind of bone chilling. You know, it's a great story. You know, like it's like, wow, that just came right back around on me. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're doing all these research. You're loving these older bows. Is there and you don't compete? Which I agree with. I mean, if I feel like sometimes people feel like they're being forced into competition, and I worry about that. I worry about that because people shouldn't have to feel like they need to compete to be an archer. I mean, it's really what you said initially. It's like, it's about decompressing. It's about being with family. It's about archery is trad archery is about it's family, really.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about camping. It's about getting out in the outdoors. It's just about having fun. And I think maybe sometimes we push a little bit, and I do it too. I'm guilty of it a little bit about you know, talking to a lot of competitors. But I mean, guys like you, again, you have more passion. I feel like you have more passion than even some competitors, right? I mean, for archery. So it's really nice to see, man.
Well, the thing with that is I always look back, I read a lot of the old books. I mean, I brought a bunch out here to show later on, but like with Howard Hill, Hunting the Hard Way and things like that.
Yeah.
John Schultz, when he was talking about Howard Hill, he studied under Hill many years ago. And he was talking about where Howard told him, you gotta pick one or the other. Are you going to be a hunter or are you going to be a competitor? Because the two, you can't be both, and excel at it. Yeah, there's always exceptions to the norm. There's always a phenom that comes up that can do both, but it's a totally different mindset hunting as opposed to shooting targets or shooting 3D targets. And
It's
I
funny.
think
It's funny you say that because I was watching another podcast and one of the guys on there, an expert, was an archery expert, well respected in the community, was just saying, it's like they're not different. They're not all that different, right? But I kind of disagreed with that. Most of the stuff that was on the show was fantastic, but it was just that one piece. I'm like, I think you're right. I think and even our archery target season kind of overlaps with hunting. And when you do that, you're getting ready with your target gear, and then you got to go into your hunting mode. And there's all these different aspects of being a hunter. It's not just, hey, I can shoot a bow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like sniper training, being a sniper and going to sniper school. It's like anyone can shoot a rifle, dude. It's not. That's like 1/10 of what you need to do. There's 100 people that are really really good, and I think people don't understand that about snipers. It's like, yeah, you get a scope and you get windage. You got a guy that's telling you what to do and where to aim. It's hard, but it's not the hardest part of being a sniper. It's camouflage and concealment. It's all these other things that go along with that. It's surveillance and just getting into the right spot at the right time. And so I agree with archery. I feel like there's so many other aspects of hunting, and I'm just not. And I'm saying that, and I'm not good at any of those. So I don't know what your experience on hunting is. It sounds like you've gone out and you've done quite a bit.
Well, I've done more on the air gun side out here just because of accessibility.
Yep.
And I mean, you have to understand, like I said earlier, hunting mule deer out here in SoCal is tough because it's a lot of open country.
Yep.
It's hilly. Guys that are using powder burners, it's easy to get a shot at 150 to 300 yards. You can see that you're spot stalking and things like that. I see deer all the time. I'm in the woods on a lot of my days off, but a lot of times they're 100 yards or more away because of the way the terrain is. And, the only time in a lot of my videos, you're going to see me in these heavily pine forests and things like that. It looks beautiful, but that's at 5,500 feet elevation. If I'm down at 4,000 feet, it's now sagebrush and maybe some oak trees and things like that. It's a totally different game then, as far as you're going to play hell spot stalking at 4,000 feet. At 5,500 feet and above, yeah, you might have a chance, or you can put a tree stand up in a known area. But like I said, the pressure's so much. You're competing against powder burner. As soon as powder burner season starts, I mean, these deer are so skittish. The wind's blowing a certain way and they're gone. It's not like in Maine where I go behind my mom and dad's house and it's just wilderness. So I could walk for 150 miles and not cross another road. Here, you're going to bump into people left and right, and it's just nuts. But I've been trying jackrabbit hunting with a bow. That is tough, but we go out and we have fun. We're doing cottontail hunting and things like that. And like I say in my air gun videos, it's not about the harvest. It's about the camaraderie with your family, with your friends. It's about sitting around a campfire at night and just telling crazy stories about how you slipped going down a hill and you fell head over heels and how you burnt the breakfast or whatever. It's just a great time. And those are things that we talk about in those moments that you don't get with a video game, or you don't get, with some other, oh, I watched this football game. Yeah, I remember that. No, you're going to remember the time the old man slipped down a bank and was going crazy. That's the sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
I mean, those are great memories, and a great way to make memories, getting out with the family.
Heck yeah.
And sometimes it's just your buddies, your mates. You just get out and we last year, me and a bunch of guys, we didn't hunt, but we just went camping. And I tell you, that was a great story. It was the stupidest thing. We're just like really local. It just went out camping, but it's memories I'll remember forever. Yep. But I've hunted with those guys too, and just some great hunting stories I've got, just hanging around these guys and being outside and not sitting on the couch anyway. And so it's really awesome. But I'm kind of doing us a disservice, man. If you are going to sit on the couch, please, Wingman115 channel, Greg, or 3D Archery. 3D.
I'd rather have him be outside. Be outside. You can check me on your mobile device after you come back from the hunt.
Yeah.
I would rather you take a kid and teach him, or a teenager, and that's the excitement for me. My nephew, Jared, he's been featured on my channel a couple times. We've done some metal detecting and things like that. And then my friend Jaime, who's a archery instructor as well, um, teaching folks trad archery. But I like seeing it through my nephew's eyes of just the first time experiencing something and his progression. He's turned into a very good archer, took instruction well, and found his own style that works good for him. And he's banging X's all day. And who am I to tell him that's the wrong way? And that's the cool thing about trad archery is that we're all anatomically different. And what might work for you, Mick, might not work for me, and vice versa. But if you have good form and you're not plucking strings and doing crazy stuff, who
Yeah.
cares if you're holding split finger or 3-under, or your grip, you're holding it, with just your index finger. If it works for you and you can consistently deliver that shot, then you're doing it right. And that's what I like about trad archery.
Yeah, and if you're having fun too, right? I mean,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're having fun, I mean, there's so many people out there willing to give advice. That's great, love it. But don't take the fun out of it. Don't take the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Don't suck the fun out of it. Just
And
go
I
out
have
there.
bad days too. I mean, there's times I'm shooting where I can't hit the broadside of a barn, and that's the reality of it. Some of my videos, I do vlogs where I'll show, just a quick shot, and then I'll show, yeah, always got that one flyer, just keeping it real to show that new person coming into the sport, hey, this is a real person doing this, that, yeah, they make mistakes too. So it's okay for me to make mistakes and learn from it. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just have a good time.
So we I want to get to what's some advice you would give someone that's brand new into the sport. You've given a lot, but what's that one magic thing that you could tell us that would help a new archer?
Don't overthink. A lot of times, when you first start, and we've all been there, we pick up that bow, we start shooting, and we're shooting really good and we get hooked. Then all of a sudden I start buying every book about, oh man, because we all want to learn, right? And we deep dive in, and it's telling you to do this and telling you to do this and like this. And the best thing is, don't read any books probably for 6 months.
Yeah.
Learn the basics of holding the bow correctly, learn the basics of nocking an arrow, find what works good for you as far as holding that arrow on the string, whether it's Mediterranean or 3-under,
Yep.
and just practice the hell out of it. If you're leaning more towards gap shooting, then practice that. If you're trying to learn more instinctive archery and that little Zen moment of trying to figure out the mind science of bringing it all together, more power to you. Or string walking, you'll find it eventually. What works for you.
Did you say Zen archery?
Yeah. When I'm coaching folks, what's funny, Mick, is when you're training somebody new and they hit the first bullseye and it all connects for them.
You're right.
The grip, drawing, the anchor, the release, and they hit the mark, and it's that euphoric feeling, and you're just as excited for them that you were like, man, everything it all came together, and it's just that Zen moment. It's just fun times.
Yeah, what's funny? I'm teaching my wife to shoot, and it's been years. She's always seen me shoot like hundreds of arrows a day. But finally I got her a bow. We went to a farm. A friend of mine owns a farm, and all the ladies were shooting. So they got her, like, we all went out for a second, the boys, and, we were off on our own, and the girls went off on their own, and they grabbed her and said, hey, you got to learn to shoot. Just learn to shoot. So anyway, I end up buying her a bow. But then she comes home, and I set her 15 yards, like, just because I was shooting 15 yards. So I said, here, you can start here or whatever. So just with that small little bit of instruction, she was hitting a 3D. I have this little crummy 3D bear,
Yeah.
She put 12 arrows into that bear at
Nice.
15 yards. I'm like, that's really good. And she thought I was kidding. She thought I was trying to over encourage her so that she would keep doing it. I'm like, no one picks up a bow for the second time and hits at 15 yards at that bear 12 times in a row or whatever. So I'm just like, yeah, it's amazing when you see someone that's good at it and they actually do hit it, because you're genuinely excited for them. You know,
Yeah.
they've just learned a new life skill. And they're going to be able to, you know, improve and get better and better and better over time. So it's kind of exciting. I like it. I
I
like.
almost equate it to like I do art as well.
Oh,
And it's that almost that right brain, left brain hemisphere of just relaxing and just letting nature take its course. And that's when the magic happens. You know, it's something I always get excited when and you've done it too, when you've released that string and you just watch that arrow in flight and you just know it's going to hit the mark. It just feels so good. And that's what keeps me motivated, where I have that passion for trad archery.
yeah, it's that. There's an old golfer saying, right? It's like, or not saying, but it's kind of a funny thing. It's like, yeah, I had one good hole. It was the 18th hole, so I'm going to come back and golf again. You know, like you'd have 17 bad holes, but you have the 18th hole is the good one. You're like, I'm hooked on golfing. Yeah, I'm going to come do it. You could have a bad day shooting, but if you can just see that one arrow flight, and I think you touched on it earlier, right? It's just so relaxing and it's so gratifying and it's so you're doing something. And I love that you put the art together with this, man, because I agree with you. I don't think that archery is a science. I mean, there's scientific principles behind archery, but there's definitely that art to it. And I think that's what separates trad archers from compound bow shooters.
Yeah.
Compound bow shooters are all scientific.
Yeah.
Trad archers it's an art. It's a study. I'm a martial artist. So, you know, it's not a martial science, right? There's no, everyone's a little bit different. So you got to teach them and train them to move their body to their height, their weight, their size, their ability. And the same goes with archery. It's a little bit more of an art, if you will. So I love that. Hey, did you, you know, here's an interesting story. Have you read the Zen and the Art of Archery?
Uh, I
It's
don't know
it's
if I gotta look to see if I have it. I I got so many books. I read like 3 or 4 books at a time.
you do?
Uh,
That's a
oh
lot.
yeah, I I am truly part of the trad geek club. Let me tell you. Uh,
What do you got?
the Witchery of Archery.
The Witchery of Archery. Yep.
Then we got Hunting the Hard Way.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
Mr. Joel Turner's.
Joel's a rock star. Yep.
That was a very good book. Highly recommended. Uh, Byron Ferguson, Becoming the Arrow.
Yeah.
Actually, this is one of my favorites. And funny story about this book. This is Hidden Like Howard Hill by John Schultz.
Yep.
And I had a viewer. I've been trying to find this book. It's been out of print for like forever.
Yeah.
And on one of the forums, I was like, man, does anybody know where I can purchase this book?
Wait, it's coming in and out. I can't see it too well.
Here, I'll focus on it. And I had a viewer contact me and goes, hey, what's your address? I have 2 of them. I'm going to send you one.
We still can't see it. Sorry. Yeah, you got near your face. Just put it in front of your face. No, it's not gonna work. You got your background. You got that blur on the background.
Oh, how about that?
No, it's not working.
No, okay.
It sees it as
maybe
background.
it's the background. How about that one?
No, it's you can't.
Oh, we got Fred Asbell. Here's another one that I highly recommended. Instinctive Archery Insights. It's the accelerated learning through applied psychology. And that one was really a really good book.
Really?
Almost talking as far as like manifesting a shot.
Okay, so very similar to how they teach golfing. Hey, what are you? So, are you an instinctive shooter?
I try to be. The problem is, here's the thing, Nick. I I think we're all a little bit gap shooters.
Yeah.
And then after a while, we just don't think about the gap.
Yeah. We call that,
everything just starts.
yeah, we call that gap stinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're aware of the tip and then then you just put your arm up to where it is for 15, for 20 yards. But Jeff Kavanaugh write some great articles on instinctive archery shooting too. And if you haven't, do you know who I'm talking about? Jeff Kavanaugh?
Oh, I love Jeff. Some of my favorite videos, and I wish he'd post more.
He won't.
When he has those darn plastic oil jugs with a candle sticking out and it's swinging back and forth like a pendulum.
Yeah.
And then he's popping the candles. I mean, he is such a great resource, and he delivers instruction in a way that's easy to digest for folks. In my humble opinion, that he doesn't come off as, "Hey, Mr. Know-it-all," but he has a way of presenting a topic that makes you want to sit there and watch. And that's why I wish he would, if he's watching, damn it, put up some more videos.
He will watch this one. But I will tell you that he's I've tried to push him to do more, because I think that his voice is a pretty strong one in our community. So
I think he's a leader. He is one of these unsung hero leaders of our community.
Yeah.
Right now, he gets a lot of respect in this community.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I don't think he's aware of. That how many people really treasure his opinion and what he has to say.
And it's from what I've seen, it's international too. Yeah. It's like, there's guys in Australia and there's guys, in Germany, and they're like, yeah, Jeff Kavanaugh, right? So yeah, he's really good. But thank you for what you do too. I mean, you're promoting it. And this is the deal. He kind of originated, trad archery channel, right? And then there's so many other great people that came along. You're one of those guys, that 15 years ago when you started putting up content. It was interesting. We got to follow your life. We got to see you get a little bit older. We got to see you, do a lot, just mature in your execution on your channel. I loved it. Anyway, where can people find you if they want to get hold of you and talk to you about single string archery?
The easiest way is just Google Wingman115. I'm everywhere. I too many social media accounts to try to manage for one person. And that's the thing. We're at the point now where we're getting, between messages, direct messages and emails, probably 100 to 150 a day. And it's hard to manage it all. We're just a one person guerrilla film crew. With every once in a while, my buddy Jaime joins in and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough, but we have fun, and that's the whole thing. When I got into this, I started on YouTube. A lot of people don't realize YouTube was a dating site back in the day.
Really?
Not that I was out there looking for a date. Here's what happened. In 05, they were a dating site. Then around 06, they started being more of a way to post family videos and things like that. So I just started posting backpacking trips and things. I was a scout leader for a lot of years, and folks said, "Hey, why don't you start posting videos on some of the gear that you use so the scouts know what to bring?" So I was like, yeah, sure. And that's how I started going down the rabbit hole on YouTube way back in the day. Now it's lights, big cameras. I wish we could go back to the simpler time, because I think the community was a lot tighter back then than it is now. Because back then they had video replies. You could reply in a comment.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And that, I think that was a great way to have dialogue with the community. And that's how I started watching Jeff Kavanaugh and even Tex Grebner, as crazy as Tex is, he still has a voice in what he's doing. It's just, it's crazy. But
I'll tell you right now, I talk to Tex on a regular basis. I talk to him like a daily basis. And
I
so I said, Tex, can you get on my show? He goes, I'm I forget the Latin he used for like, like I'm not
persona
welcome.
non grata.
Persona non grata. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
persona non grata in archery right now. So I'm like, dude, you know what? Controversy is controversy. But anyway, and sometimes, I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I can say it anyway. We'll cut it out later. I kind of think of him and you in the same time kind of vein. And I know that's kind of
No,
bad, but
that's fine. Tex is a personal friend of mine. We don't agree on a lot of stuff,
yeah.
because sometimes he gets a little way out there in left field without a mitt.
Yeah.
But and if Tex is watching this, he knows I love him to death. And because we all came up at the same time. He started in 2006, 2007, around that same time. So, it
Yeah,
it's been a wild ride. And
he,
that's what's so fun about what we do.
hey, before almost forgot to ask you, cowboy hats.
Okay.
You are you you do a whole episode on cowboy hats. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, tell me about it. Tell me about where you get that from. I mean, you're from
Well,
East Coast, West Coast.
when I came, well, one, I always grew up loving Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, Gene Autry,
Yeah,
John Wayne. Uh, with my age being 55, soon to be 56, that those were our heroes. Clint Eastwood, Pale
absolutely,
Rider, things like
absolutely.
that. So coming out to San Diego, believe it or not, 35, 36, 37 years ago, you didn't have to travel too far outside of the metro area, and you were in ranch land.
Yeah.
Horse ranches, cattle ranches. People were team roping, bull riding. Not that I ever did that. I wanted to, but just my wife was like, "Oh hell no, you're not doing it," because I'm just crazy enough to get my neck broke. But my daughter was riding. I got her lessons when she was young. She rode for 10 years English riding, and she was jumping posts and things like that for 10 years. And we were following the rodeo circuit. So, make a long story short, I had been wearing cowboy hats for a lot of years. I didn't show it on the channel because, I didn't think people, oh, yeah, he's doing this. Where's your horse? You're not a Western channel. Then one day I said, you know what? I'm always wearing a hat. Everybody thought, that I had a hair piece or whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. So now I'm sponsored by Pro Hats. They're a cowboy hat company. And I just love that Western lifestyle. Matter of fact, we were in Vegas about a month ago to PBR.
Yeah.
We're watching bull riders out
Yep.
in Vegas about a month
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
And then I went to Fort Worth to the stockyards. They have a great rodeo at the stockyards in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So I follow that whole genre. I mean, I travel all over the Southwest, going to rodeos and just
Hey,
that. I love
do
that
you,
culture.
man? I love the fact that you're again. I mentioned this at the very beginning. You do that's what's great about your channel. You do what you like, man. You do the things that you like, and that comes across. And I really appreciate that. Like, sincerely do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just keep up doing what you love to do. You love cowboy hats, then get it done, man. I love it. Love it.
If you try to please everybody, you're not going to be happy.
No,
You
you can't
have to
shoot.
do what you have a passion for.
I wouldn't go as
And
far as shooting myself in the leg or anything like that, but
no,
no.
no. you know, it, and you know what? I talked to that individual. That accident could have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
When you're doing quick draw, that's why when you're at a gun range,
Yeah.
that's why there's nobody does that
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
And those holsters are, those Blackhawk holsters. Like, and I'm not saying bad about those holsters, just that if your hand's not in the right spot, it's easy to light one off. I mean, if you shoot a lot, you've had a negligent discharge at least once in your life. If you've done that, but that just to segue into the air gun stuff as well.
Yeah.
That community is almost like the trad archery community.
Is it really? That's awesome.
It is, because it's one of the most misunderstood communities, because
Yeah.
everybody, when you tell folks, yeah, I shoot pellet rifles, and they're like, oh, Daisy BB guns. And I'm like, no, there's 50 cal pellet rifles that are taking buffalo.
Yeah.
It's like mind blow. And the way the technology is now, it's just, they're getting the velocities, they're getting the foot pounds. It's just amazing. And it's just fun to see where all this is going. Especially on the trad side too, with new glues, new fiberglass. The technology is taking these bows to the next level. And I think, Mick, that we're in a renaissance era of trad archery.
Yeah.
You know, I was lucky enough to grow up, you know, in the 70s, they were transitioning out of trad archery because compounds were the new and improved thing, right? And through the 70s and 80s, you know, trad bows got left behind. I'm seeing a lot of folks now, because I go to the bow and arrow shop, sponsor of the channel, had to throw that in there.
That's no problem.
I go in there, there's a lot of folks that are leaving compound bows because every year you have to buy the new and improved, when old and lousy work just as good.
Absolutely. I have an ancient compound bow that I could still knock tens out on. But yeah, it's just not, that's the feeling. You're exactly right. I mean, people are getting back to this saying like, you know what? I don't need all the gear. Just give me a wooden bow. You know, I got to figure the arrows out. Arrows are always that barrier to, you know, to making it simple. People say, nah, stick and string is simple. Nah, man, you got to know how to tune your arrows to be successful and be happy. Right. So, and other than that, I mean, if you get someone that you can lean on, or you got a channel you can go to talk to people, you know, then, you know, you can get up and run in a stick bow with you know, for $150 and you're out the door. Even hunting, you know.
I'm gonna tell you what's good about the period frame that we live in. I bought that shrew bow, and I went on to they have a Facebook group. Henry Bodnick himself is in the group.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to ask Henry, pick his brain. What's the best arrow for me, for my draw, for this poundage, this, that? He messages me personally with what he would build as an arrow. Insert what he's using for a tip, the spine weight, everything. I go and I make it, and it's perfect right out of the gate.
I love that. Yeah,
paper tuned it. I mean, it's just boom, perfect. And I'm like, I told him, I go, you're the modern day Fred Bear right now.
Yeah.
You know, as an ambassador for trad archery on a manufacturing level, he has that enthusiasm and such a love for our sport. And I mean, he's doing a lot of cool stuff.
Dude, I wish I know. So there's so many. So Shrew and Bodnick bows. Just, you know, I'd like to shoot every single one of the new lineup. Like I'd like to get one of every single.
Let me tell you, they're an outstanding bow. I don't think anybody would be disappointed with that. Now, a great story, when I called to order my bow, Ron LeClaire picks up the phone himself, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's been my idol like freaking all my life, right? Because there's videos on YouTube of Ron shooting quarters out of the air with a longbow. And I'm just saying the whole time, I'm just trying, Mr. LeClaire, I want to purchase Sonny, can you get to the point? You don't understand, Mr. LeClaire.
That's the way I was about Wingman115 coming on my show.
Oh gosh. Here's the thing with me. I'm just a good old boy. I take the trash out. I have a passion for all this stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And if it can help grow the sport, it's a win. It's a win. I don't do it for the money. You know,
No, no, no.
we don't have no big sponsors here at the channel. I wish we did to help with the gas money, because it's close to $5 a gallon now in SoCal.
Oh,
But
ouch.
yeah, so it's getting crazy. But we have a good time. We stay humble. I'm thankful for every view. I don't care if I get 100 views on a video or 100,000 views on a video. If one person gets the passion to pick up a bow, to pick up an air gun, to go camping and practice some primitive living skills or whatever, that's a win. That's a win right there.
Hey, so this is the last thing. I won't take any more of your time. Just one more question for you, since you brought it up. You equated air rifle shooting to target archery, the equivalency there. That's awesome. So I asked you about archery, right? I asked you what bows you had, stuff like that. I don't want to know every single air gun you own, but what if I want to get into shooting an air gun? What would you recommend as my first air gun?
Well, the thing is, there's so many different styles of air guns. You have just real quick, unabridged version. You have CO2. Yep. The only thing with CO2, it's temperature regulated. Anything under 60 degrees Fahrenheit, then you're going to have issues with performance. Then you have what's called springers, those break barrel type. Mm-hmm. Then in that Springer genre, they have a gas ram version. Yep. So, and then you go up to what we call the high pressure air, the pre-charged pneumatic air guns that are pressured to 3,000 PSI or up to 4,500 PSI. It all depends on what you're going to do. That's the first thing I tell somebody. I ask them, I go, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to hunt with it? Do you want to plank? How often do you plan on using it? Sort of thing. If you're just starting out, maybe one of those gas ram Benjamin Nitro, just break barrel guns. It's not going to break the bank. $200. You get a 22 caliber or 25 caliber, great shooter. Now the pre-charged pneumatic guns though are also in that $300 range, but then you need a pump or you need a compressor, and it's just a big rabbit hole that you start going down.
Yeah.
But I would start off with maybe a break barrel. If you decide that you like it, you're out there, you're squirrel hunting, you're bird hunting, you decide you want to take it to the next step, then you're just limited by how much you want to spend. You know, that you're looking over your shoulder.
Aren't we all?
The credit card receipt comes in, making sure the wife's not watching, you know. But there's some good ones out there. I mean, I did a video review on the DAR dynamic air rifles. That was 25 caliber. I got a coyote this year with it.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it. Amazing. You know, you remind me of Fred Eckler right there. That's crossover. He does a great video. You did a great video on bringing down a dog. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Really.
And that's the thing, you know, we're all not just, we all just don't like one flavor of ice cream, you know, and it's okay to like trad archery and like other sports as well. If you want to get good at trad archery, you need to shoot a lot.
Yeah.
And in the past couple of months, I've kind of been slacking off. I got to get back into it because deer season's starting up for us in a couple of weeks.
Me too.
But you know, it's like anything, and that's the thing. It's a perishable skill. In my opinion, trad archery is a perishable skill. It's almost like throwing free throws in basketball. If you're not practicing a couple times a week, you're going to be okay, but you're not going to be just hitting buckets all day long.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's the good thing about having a little range on the side of my house is I'm just able to grab a bow and go out and quick, you know.
It is important to practice. Hey, John, you know, thanks very much again for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate you, man, reaching out, you know, a small content creator, talking to a massive influencer in the community. So I really appreciate it, man. Thanks everyone for sticking around and watching. Don't forget, go over to John's channel, subscribe if you haven't already. He's got I'm sure you already have. But don't forget to subscribe and like this content and comment, man. The comments really help us out. So even if you are a subscriber of John's, go over to there and watch some more of his videos, but make sure you comment at the end too. Like say something, say, hey, John, how are you doing? How's things? That sort of thing. It all helps the algorithm, helps us to grow the community. So really appreciate everyone. Appreciate you again, John. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll call it a day.
Thank you.
See ya.